one-footed shadow of the mist, curse of the betrayed woman. I remember it like it was yesterday, back in around 1992, when I was a young, cocky hunter in the Palawan region of the Philippines. My name is Mateo Cruz, and my life back then revolved around the primal rainforest, a wild, mysterious place that few dared to venture deep into. Palawan wasn't the tourist hotspot it is now. It was still a realm for hunters like me, with ancient trails overgrown with moss, and thick fog rolling in every late afternoon. I was born and raised in a small village called San Vicente, where folks scraped by on hunting, gathering, and fishing along the rivers. My father was the most renowned hunter in the area. He taught me everything: how to track wild boars, how to shoot without startling the birds, and how to respect the forest, though he always warned that the forest didn't always respect you back. The forest has a soul, Mateo, he'd say in his deep voice by the campfire. It remembers everything you do. I'd laugh it off, calling it superstition, but now, as I recount this story, I realize he was right. San Vicente was a tiny spot, with thatched roof huts clustered together, and a small river running through it, carrying the earthy scent of mud and fish. The villagers lived simply. Men hunted, women wove nets and cooked, kids played under the canopy. I was one of the youngest men, tall and tanned from the sun and wind, with a smile that girls said was deadly charming. I made my living guiding tourists from Manila or Cebu-rich folks wanting a taste of wild hunting. They'd pay handsomely enough for me to buy rice wine, rolled tobacco, and sometimes gifts for my fleeting romances. The village whispered about me, Mateo Cruz, the womanizer who'd broken a few hearts. I didn't deny it. I figured it was just part of being a free man. My ex-wife Maria was the prettiest girl in the village, with long black hair and warm brown eyes. We married when I was 20, but after 2 years, it all fell apart. I met a girl named Lucia from the next village over, and those stolen afternoons by the stream made me forget my vows. Maria found out, cried her eyes out, and left, taking our unborn child with her. The villagers gossiped, but I shrugged. Men are men. Everyone slips sometimes. Deep down though, I felt a vague unease, like someone was judging me from the shadows. Sometimes, on quiet nights, alone in my hut, listening to the insects buzzing outside, I'd think of Maria, the broken promises, and wonder if the forest really remembered like my father said. In the village, there was this odd old woman named Lola Mirren. She lived on the forest's edge in a rickety wooden shack, with candles burning all night and bundles of herbs hanging from the rafters. She was about 70, her skin wrinkled like ancient bark, her eyes sparkling like she knew all the world's secrets. She was the only one who dared tell the forest's ghost stories. I'd stop by her place for homemade rice wine or hand-rolled smokes, and she'd always take the time to warn me. Mateo, my boy, lust will lead you to your doom, she'd say, her voice trembling like decaying leaves in the wind. The forest remembers everything. It recalls every sin, every broken vow, and the forest doesn't forgive. I'd laugh her off, calling her the old witch, but she never got mad. She'd tell me about La Patasola, the one-footed ghost, the spirit of a woman named Isabella, wife of a hunter betrayed and murdered right in these woods. According to Lola, Isabella was a beauty who married a hunter named Ramon, but he cheated, then killed her in a jealous rage deep in the forest. Her body was buried under an ancient tree, and her soul became La Patasola, guardian of the woods, appearing only to lecherous men like me. She doesn't strike right away, Lola would whisper, staring into the distance. She appears beautiful, gentle, her voice soft as a breeze. She lures men deeper with their desires, then reveals the truth. When she turns her back, there's only one foot, and it's backward, with claws digging into the earth. Don't look at her feet, Mateo, and if you smell metal in the air, run. I'd chuckle, pat her shoulder. Good story, Lola, but I don't believe in ghosts. The forest is just the forest. But her words haunted me, especially during those twilight hours when the fog thickened and sunlight dappled through the leaves, making it feel like eyes were watching. That fateful afternoon started like any other. I'd agreed to guide 2 tourists from Manaluan and Pedro, wealthy playboys with backpacks full of fancy gear, cameras, multi-tools, and expensive whiskey. They wanted to hunt wild boar or monkeys to brag about back in the city. I took the job because they paid well enough for a gift for Rosa, the new girl I'd met in the village. Rosa was 22, her husband a fisherman who spent weeks at sea, and we'd flirted a few times at the market. I'd arranged to meet her that night after returning, and the thought excited me. Lust is hard to resist. I knew I shouldn't, since she was married, but I thought, just once, what's the harm? We set out from the village early morning, as the sun was just rising. The familiar trail led us into the forest, towering trees blocking the sky, thick foliage like a green dome, vines twisting around trunks like giant spiderwebs. The air was humid, heavy with the scent of rotting leaves and wet soil from last night's rain. Birdsong echoing mixed with the relentless chirp of insects. Sunlight filtered through the canopy in mottled patches, dancing on the moss-covered ground, making everything look like a living painting full of secrets. We ventured deep, through areas few visited, where fog started forming in the afternoon. I led them along the old hunter's path my father had shown me. Walk light, speak soft, listen to the forest. Juan and Pedro were thrilled, snapping photos non-stop, joking about city girls. I shared stories of Palawan, crystal-clear streams, fierce boars, and hidden mysteries. We bagged a few small monkeys and stopped by a brook in the late afternoon. The water was clear, gurgling over mossy stones, carrying a fresh forest smell. The tourists were tired, leaning against trees, smoking and sipping whiskey, laughing about their adventures. I sat apart, sipping rice wine from my flask, my mind on Rosa, her smile, her soft skin, the evening ahead. Desire burned in me like a campfire, blotting out everything else. Suddenly, I heard rustling from the bushes across the stream. I figured it was wildlife, maybe a boar or monkey, so I grabbed my gun, eyes straining through the gathering fog. Juan and Pedro quieted, watching, but then, from the dappled shadows under the trees, a woman stepped out. She was stunning, enough to stop my breath, like she'd emerged from a dream. Her skin was porcelain pale in the twilight, long black hair cascading down her back, shimmering like dark water. Her eyes were deep black pools, radiating an eerie allure, and her smile was gentle yet captivating. She wore a simple white dress, but it clung to her curves, highlighting her graceful form, making my heart race. In this deep forest, how could such a woman be here? She didn't look like a villager. Her beauty was urban, or even otherworldly. Juan and Pedro gawked, then joked, "Whoa, forest beauty. Hello there." She politely declined their invitation to rest, turning her gaze straight to me. "You're a hunter, aren't you? I'm lost. Can you guide me back to the village? I'm afraid of the dark." Her voice was soft, as a whispering breeze through leaves, carrying a strange pull. I agreed instantly, without thinking. I told Juan and Pedro to head back on the path. They knew the way, as I'd pointed it out that morning. They chuckled, winking at me like they got it. "Good luck, buddy. Don't get lost." I didn't care. My mind was filled with her. We started walking, following a narrow trail I rarely used. It was shorter but rougher, with tangled undergrowth and twisting roots. The fog thickened, and dusk fell fast, turning the forest into a hazy realm. Sunlight dappled through the leaves in bizarre shapes, stretching long on the ground, like unseen watchers from behind ancient trunks. She walked ahead, her steps light as if floating, never stumbling on the uneven path. I followed, eyes fixed on her swaying figure, desire growing stronger. We chatted along the way. She introduced herself as Isabella, from a distant village in southern Palawan, visiting relatives but lost following the wrong stream. "I'm not used to the deep woods," she said, her voice sweet and enchanting. "But you seem so familiar, like I've known you forever." I grinned, sharing about myself. Dangerous hunts, the time I nearly died from a crocodile in an underground river, and casually boasting about my passing flings. "A man like you must have women chasing him." She smiled, but there was something chilly in it, like moonlight through mist. I didn't notice. Lust blinded me. I asked about her. "What do you do in your village?" "Married." She glanced back, eyes gleaming. "My husband. He betrayed me, but the forest punished him." Her words were vague, but I didn't probe, assuming it was old history. The forest around us began shifting subtly, as if awakening. The insects' constant buzz faded to silence, leaving only leaves rustling underfoot and wind sighing through branches, sounding like murmurs. The trail narrowed, trees closing in behind us, like the forest was swallowing our path. I glanced back once, my heart tightening. The way we'd come was shrouded in fog, as if it never existed. "Isabella, where are we going?" I asked, my voice shaky from fatigue and growing unease. She turned, eyes sparkling in the dim light. "Almost there, Mateo. You're not scared, are you? The forest only guides the worthy." How did she know my name? I hadn't said it. I halted, gripping my gun tighter, but she kept walking, and I followed, mesmerized. That's what desire does, it makes fools of us. The air's scent changed, not the familiar rot of leaves, but a metallic temps, like dried blood on the wind. I recalled Lola's words. The metallic smell means the spirit world is opening, but I dismissed it as imagination. Twilight's last rays barely pierced through, and the forest felt off. Birds silent, insects hushed. Only my breathing and her footsteps, oddly rhythmic. I tried talking to dispel the anxiety. "You're beautiful, Isabella. What are you doing alone in the forest? Where's your family?" She laughed, the sound echoing strangely. "Family. They abandoned me. But the forest is my family now. It listens, it remembers, and sometimes it answers." Then she delved deeper into her past, a hazy tale laced with resentment about a cheating husband. The pain of being murdered in the woods. "Men like you, Matteo, think lust is freedom, but it leads to destruction. Do you remember Maria? She cried so much. Her words jolted me. How did she know about Maria? What are you talking about? Is that your past?" I forced a laugh, but my heart pounded. We pressed on, into areas I'd never explored, despite knowing the forest inside out. Trees seemed to move, roots writhing under the soil like barriers. Whispers started from all sides, not wind, but voices. Betrayal, lust, punishment. I paused, wiping sweat from my brow. "Isabella, let's rest. I'm tired." She turned, smile still gentle. "No time to rest. Matteo, the forest is waiting for you." I looked closer in the fading light, and noticed something odd. Her white dress was pristine, no mud or dirt, despite the sloppy trail. Her steps were so light, they left no prints. Then we reached a massive ancient tree, its roots snaking like living serpents, trunk covered in moss and vines. She stopped, her back to me. "Matteo, have you ever thought about the women you've hurt? About Maria, Lucia, Rosa, all those broken promises? The forest remembers everything." Her voice shifted abruptly, turning icy, echoing through the woods like howling wind in a cave. I panicked. "How do you know? Who are you? This isn't funny." She turned slowly, her smile twisted, eyes now glowing with a demonic red light, like hellfire. I looked down at her feet, and my world crumbled. Only one foot, the other didn't exist, and this one was backward, claws sharp and sunk deep into the moist earth, leaving a deep imprint. Her skin began cracking, revealing rotting flesh beneath, and the metallic stench overwhelmed me, making me gag. She wasn't human. She was La Patasola Isabella, the betrayed spirit, now punisher of men like me. I freaked out, raising my gun, hands shaking so bad I nearly dropped it. "What are you? Get away. I'll shoot," I yelled, voice cracking in the encroaching dark. She laughed, the sound booming through the forest, shrill and terrifying, like the wails of 100 forsaken souls. The trees around us came alive, vines wrapping my legs, roots pulling me toward the damp ground, fog thickening like a wall blocking escape. The trail vanished entirely. I was trapped in this living labyrinth, where the forest became a vengeful entity. "The forest remembers, Matteo, and the forest doesn't forgive," she whispered, her voice a distorted echo of Lola Myron's, twisted with hatred. I fired a shot into the air, hoping the bang would shatter the illusion, but the bullet echoed uselessly, and she dissolved into the mist, leaving only that single, deep footprint and the overpowering metallic reek. I ran, bolting madly through the darkness, tripping on roots, groping through fog. But the forest was alive, morphing constantly. Familiar paths turned into thorny thickets, trees sealing behind me, whispers growing louder, names of women I'd wronged, Maria, Lucia, Rosa, and others I'd forgotten. "You deserve this," they murmured, like judgments from my own conscience. The fear wasn't just from the ghost, but from within. Did I deserve punishment? My lust had led me here, and now the forest was claiming what was its die. Collapsed by the ancient tree, my gun slipping from my hand, standing upright like a nameless grave. Darkness enveloped me, cold seeping into my skin, and I felt myself dissolving into the forest, becoming part of it. The last whisper I heard, "The forest doesn't forgive." I don't know what happened after that. Maybe I died there, or maybe my spirit still wanders the woods, waiting for other men like me. Days later, they found my gun, propped straight by the ancient tree, with a single deep footprint below it backward. Lola Myron looked at the print, shaking her head and murmuring, "It wasn't her who killed him. The forest just took back what was always its." If you're reading this, and you're a man like I was, think twice before letting lust guide you into the shadows. The forest remembers, and if you smell metal in the air, run. Who knows, maybe I'm still out there, waiting for you in the mists of Palawan.